Coach Maile, first of all, welcome to Boise State. Tell us, with your experience around the Mountain West, what do you think you bring to the team?
Man, hopefully I bring some passion, man, for not only the game but for these players, man. And you know, I'm very grateful. I can't even start to explain how humbled I am for this opportunity, man. And this is an elite national brand here at Boise State, man. And I'm excited to be here and be part of the family.
What do we expect from your defensive line group? What is a hallmark of what you usually try to put out on the field?
Man, hopefully a very violent brand of football, man. So I take pride in our body of work and what we do and how we do it and how we go about our business. But it's a mentality and it's a lifestyle. So it's not just a Saturday deal for us, man. And so I'm gonna try to create an environment, a mentality of how these guys live their lives, man. And it's not something you just learn here when you walk in the building, man. It's kind of upon awakening when you wake up and having a purpose and being intentional about what you're about to do today and have a plan. And so if we're going to get to the top of the mountain and be up there, you got to have a plan of how you're going to climb it, and be very specific with it, right? With casualness comes casualties, is what I'm always going to tell these guys. So we got to avoid being casual and in our way of thinking and in our body of work.
Looking at what Boise State's defensive line schemes were like, are yours similar, different? What do you think we're going to see from you guys?
Very similar, very similar. They're odd front base with 2 4s and a zero technique, and that's what we ran at Utah State for a very long time. And so that's kind of my specialty right there. And they'll sprinkle in some even front with the under and over fronts there. And so I'm very excited with the talent that's already here. To be able to work with these young men and get them ready to roll and take this thing to the next level, man, to tell you the truth. So I think Boise State has been very, very successful, but I think it's time to take this thing to the next level.
Coach, thanks for your time. Good luck.
Absolutely. Thanks, Bob.
Next up, Ron Counts with Idaho Statesman, followed by Mike Prater with KTIK.
Hey, Coach, welcome to Boise. So after spending so many years on the Utah State staff, what was it that convinced you that this move was right for you right now?
Man, to tell you the truth, man, it's probably there's few programs out there where you got a dream of being there, man, and just the respect over the years as a player, playing Boise State as a coach. There's a lot of respect, man. I have the utmost respect for this program, its fans, and how they go about their business, man. And I can't be more excited to be here, man. It's I don't know if this is a bad comparison, but it's like the Alabama of the Mountain West. You know what I mean? So in my mind, watching ball and going through the deal, everything goes through Boise State. You know what I mean? Some people might say there's been a hatred from being an Aggie for these guys, but to me, it was all respect, right? For who these guys are and who they represent. I need to stop saying who they are, who we are. You know what I mean? Because I'm here, I'm part of the family now, but there's a lot of respect for the passion and the type of ball that's played here.
How well did you know Andy before you were hired, and what stands out about him as a coach?
Man, Andy's big time, man. Andy is big time. And for me, I've known Andy for a long time now. We've kind of known each other through the coaching world, on the recruiting trail, working together at camps. And so him and I have similar personalities, in my opinion. He's a technician. Everything's about mentality, but he's got a great balance to not only coaching hard but loving hard with his players and how he goes about his business, which is why his defenses have been so successful, because I think he gets the most out of each of his players, and all his players, if you ask any of them, will go through a wall for him. So to me, it's a pleasure. I feel blessed and privileged that he would allow me to be a part of his staff, to be here at Boise State. So I'm nothing but blessed to be here right now.
I'm sure there are several moments from the last few months that you'd rather forget, from not getting the head job at Utah State to opting out of the final game of this season. But there had to be one moment that stands out to you when your players went to the Utah State president and went there to fight for you as the head coach. What did that mean to you?
Man, it meant the world to me, man. It meant the world. And so family's everything to me. You know what I mean? Family's the greatest unit in society. It's the most important unit in society. And for me, for those guys to go stand on the table for me, meant the world to me, man. It just meant how much they loved me, and the love there was reciprocated. And I'll do anything for those guys, man. Great players, great privilege to work with all those young men. And so for those guys to feel that way about me, man, was awesome, was a great feeling for me, which is really why I do what I do, to hopefully build those relationships with those guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Mike Prater, followed by Jay Tust.
Hey, Frank, welcome to Boise.
Hey, thank you.
To follow up on that Utah State question, a lot of stuff went on there, on the field, off the football field. How did you grow? How did you develop as a man and as a coach during that whole process? How did you change?
Man, I try to stay focused on what was most important, and that was the guys. That was the players. That was my number one goal. When I met with the staff as they made me the interim head coach, I told them, listen, everything that we do from this moment forward is about the kids. Everything we do. So we got to be detailed, and we got to give these guys everything that we got. And, you know, I've been blessed to be around really good coaches, really good mentors. And those are things that I've learned from them, that it's always about the football players. And so if it's not for them, man, why are we in this business? And so to keep the focus on the kids was really what made it easier. I shouldn't say easy because it wasn't easy, man. It made it easier. It was a blessing to be the interim head coach. And I think anytime that you stay focused through adversity, there's growth. There's growth through it. And so I grew as an individual, as a man, as a father, as a husband, because, you know, in this profession, it involves everybody whose lives that I touch, specifically my family.
You're Tongan, you're from Utah, and as you know, there's a lot of polys in Utah, and you've run across a lot of them, and Boise's kind of dabbled in that, the Sonatani Louis, and there's a few others. How much do you plan, and how much can you go into Utah and recruit and develop and bring that kind of talent back to Boise?
Mike, I'm not going to lie, man. I'm very confident in my ties and my connections to the state of Utah, you know, and so from the top to bottom, okay, from Logan all the way to St. George, you know, I have a great relationship with the majority of all the head coaches there, and that's been a huge recruiting area for me. I've been in charge of the whole state of Utah a few years in my career. I've overseen it most of my career recruiting Utah, and so that's going to be a heavy emphasis for me to walk in there. And again, with this logo has a lot of power to walk in any state in this country, but in Utah, with my connections, my ties there with the Polynesian community, and how elite this logo is and the power that it brings, man, I'm very confident about bringing the guys that fit here first and foremost, and that can help us play at a high level.
How can polys make a difference in a football program?
Well, I think one of the things we've been blessed with is kind of the bodies to run into other bodies. You know what I mean? And so the physicality portion of it, I think we've been built for this sport. You know what I mean? And so not everybody can play rugby. So the next best thing in the States is put a helmet on and then run into other people. And so I think the mentality, just the love for family, the brotherhood, I think is part of our culture and who we are. And so I think the Polynesian culture brings that aspect to the game, not only on the field, but it affects the locker room in a positive way.
Thank you, Frank.
Thanks, Mike.
Jay Tust, followed by Will Hall.
She might be muted.
Sorry, Frank, my bad.
Hey, it's happened to me about 1,000 times already.
Well, you think I'd have this down by now, but when I said welcome to Boise, congrats.
Appreciate it.
Frank, we've already kind of joked around that you're going to have to get used to saying we, not they. I mean, how long will this take for you to get used to wearing the Bronco logo and all?
Listen, man, I'm attached already. I've moved forward. So I'm a Bronco now, man. I'm part of this family. I'm excited. And it doesn't take long, man. As soon as you walk into this town, welcome to Bronco Nation. So loving it.
How well do you know Andy? How far back do you guys go? And, you said that he's a special guy. Why do you believe that?
Man, just following his career, I feel like we've almost started our careers together. We're similar in age. When he played here at Boise, I was at Utah State. And so kind of the GA life, showing up to camps, trying to prove ourselves, to the older coaches. And so I've seen him through the years, followed him. And surprisingly, little things like, when you're at camps, you get a chance to be around other coaches. So you get to see their style of coaching and how they interact with kids, man. And it's been impressive, man, and stuff that I've tried to follow. And, we've tried to get on the same staff a few times, and it's never worked out. But there's a time and place for everything. And, God has a plan for everybody. And I'm walking into one of them right now.
You said it's time to take this thing to the next level. How do you do that here at Boise State? And what do you know about what you have at the moment? What's in the cupboard?
Man, to me, it's consistently winning the championship. So that's going to be the goal every year, man. Is there's got to be a fear. There's got to be a fear when opponents see us on the schedule, and offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, special teams coordinators, they lose sleep. They lose sleep when they see the Broncos and the Broncos are up to play. There's got to be a fear, you know what I mean? And we got to take pride in that. And there's a little bit of that already, but I think it needs to be a consistent deal where teams fear us, and it doesn't matter who it is, okay? Especially the Power 5 teams, okay? The last thing you want to do is schedule the Broncos, you know what I mean? And so you got to think twice about that as an athletic director as far as scheduling Boise State. And, that to me is taking it to the next level where this brand right here is fearful. Okay, they're feared throughout the country, and every year we are in the Mountain West Championship, and we're winning that thing on a consistent basis, year in and year out.
Thank you, Frank. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jay.
Go Will Hall and then Johnny Mallory.
Hey, Frank, congratulations. Welcome to Boise. I'm curious, who is your greatest coaching mentor and influence, and why?
Man, I'll tell you what, man, to begin with, man, and he's not even a coach, man, was my dad. My dad, man, he's old school now. He's old school. And when it comes to old school dads, especially in the Tongan culture, man, they're pretty intense. So you kind of want to stand clear of there and stay the course at all times. If you know what's good for you, man. But my old man's been there from the beginning, and I just got off the phone with him before I got on here, and he's still trying to coach me up. You know what I mean? And so he's been awesome, man. But I've been around a lot of good coaches, man, from Gary Anderson, who gave me my first shot at Utah State, to Todd Orlando, who's the defensive coordinator over at SC, to Dave Aranda, who's the head coach at Baylor. They've all been mentors of mine. I've worked under all of those guys. Pete Jenkins is a huge influence in my life as far as defensive line play and the mentality of playing that game. And so I've been surrounded by really good people, man. And I can't say one guy, man, because they've all played a role.
No, we asked you about Andy already. Wanted to get your thoughts. How well do you know Spencer Danielson?
You know what? I haven't had a lot of time with Spencer. I've only heard a lot about Spencer, right? Which is a positive in this profession, man, when your name's getting tossed around. So I've worked with a bunch of the guys I was at Utah State with. A lot of those guys knew Spencer. And so, when his name came up, man, all of them spoke very highly of him, of his ability to coach kids, his passion for the football game, his knowledge of the game. And so that just added to my excitement about being a part of these guys and learning from them. So I'm excited to learn from Spencer, from Andy, and everybody in the staff.
Thanks, Frank. Congrats.
Hey, thanks, Will.
Johnny Mallory.
Welcome to Boise, Coach.
John, appreciate it.
What stands out to you regarding the staff that Coach Avalos has put together? Is there a common denominator there that you've noticed?
Man, I think it's a combination of a few things, man. And, being a part of, listening to some of the coaches we're interviewing right now, man, it's a fit for not only the staff, it's a fit for the players, right? Guys that are elite master teachers that can inspire these kids, can motivate them, bring a lot of juice on and off the field that these kids will play for, but that are fit here for the community. You know what I mean? I think that's a big part of it, man, is being a part of the whole family, right? Not just the players and the coaches here in the building, but being a part of this community, I think is a big part of who Bronco Nation is, man, is involving everybody.
How do you think your time as an interim head coach and that experience makes you a better assistant coach again? You got to swim in the deep end for a few weeks there. Now you're out of it. Now what do you think you're going to take to be becoming the best defensive line coach you can be?
Just consistently doing what's right, is the biggest thing, man. And the biggest thing I preach to the players, man. People want to talk about toughness, but what does that actually mean? I think a lot of people have false sense of what toughness means, but to me, it's consistently doing what's right, because that's the hardest thing to do today when it comes to the kids, right? So my job is to mentor those guys through the experiences that I've had in my personal life, not only as an interim head coach, but I got to prepare them to be fathers and husbands one day, to be part of their own family, to be the heads of their families, to be in charge of whatever they're going to be, their careers that they're going to pursue. But it's bigger than football, man. And again, if these guys create a lifestyle of great habits, it'll lead to great choices, and they're going to be great people in this community. And, that's part of what my job is, along with teaching ball, right? They go hand in hand, and I don't separate those two things. Life and football are one and the same.
Welcome to Boise.
Hey, thanks, John.
I know Prater's got a follow-up, so we'll start with him, and if anybody else has any, by all means, chime in.
Coach, let's talk scheme a little bit. How much of you and Andy talk scheme? Are you guys getting to the point where you're talking 3-4, 4-3? Will the stud position continue to stay at Boise State? How much of the X's and O's have you guys talked about?
Mike, to tell you the truth, man, we've been kind of in an interviewing process this week, the last few days I've been here. And so we haven't tucked much ball, but it sounds like you're going to see the similar defense, right, with your stud outside backer there, the 3-4 scheme, sprinkled in some even front. And we're going to try to collaborate a little bit with what we've done at Utah State and the success we've had there. I think there's a lot of similarities, but I think there's some schematic stuff and technique stuff that I can bring to the table to make this thing run a little bit faster and a little bit more violent.
Can you give me an example of what you're excited to implement into that scheme?
We ran a lot of creepers, what they call creepers. They're false pressures. You know what I mean? And so the beauty about the 3-4 is that being able to disguise a bunch of stuff, right? So it looks like one thing, knock on the front door and come through the back door type of mentality. You know what I mean? And so always keeping offenses on their toes, right? And trying to keep them guessing, right? And so a lot of that, I'm more interested to learn from these guys because they've been so successful and to see where, some of our knowledge, some of our schemes and techniques can fit into that. Right. So we ain't trying to fix something that's not broken, but I think we can, as we collaborate the schemes and techniques, we can add upon it and make it better.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Jay's got a follow-up.
Frank, wanted to go back to your connection to Andy Avalos. When it comes to Andy, do you remember your first encounter with him, or do you have a most memorable conversation with Andy?
Do you know what? I think it was in Hawaii. At one of the camps that they call the All Poly Camp is where I think I first met Andy. And that was a long time ago when All Poly used to go to Hawaii. That used to be everyone's favorite camp, I think, was to get into the Hawaii camp, be able to do that. So just interacting with him, man, I think when you meet people in general, there's you can feel kind of who they are and what they're about, and if they're genuine, if they're down to earth, what type of person they are, and that's what I felt right out the gate with him was this is a good dude, right? And in this profession, you not only want to be around good ball coaches, but you want to be around good people, because that usually leads to success and a lot of it. And his track record speaks for itself of what type of person he is. So it's hard to be successful and to be a bad person in this profession. So I've always wanted to be on his staff. We've always talked about getting on the same staff. It just never worked out. And it finally has, and I'm very grateful for that.
When he called you, well, I assume he called you to see your interest in this job. I mean, did you look down at your phone and see Andy Avalos and think what's going through your mind at that point? And then how nice of an honor is it to also be the assistant head coach in addition to the D-line?
Man, it's a blessing, man. It's a blessing anytime anybody calls your phone. You know what I mean? So Andy's name in the defensive world is a big name, man. So when I saw my phone ring, when Harson's name came out for going to Auburn, man, I was like, man, well, here we go. Here we go. We've been talking about it for a long time. I need to stop talking about it. I need to make this happen. So, you know, he's been great, man. He's been consistent in trying to, man, and it finally worked out. Sorry,
Thanks.
man. What's the second part of that question?
I think you got most of that there. Oh, just
Okay.
he also named you assistant head coach.
Sure.
Is that a nice honor in addition to being a position coach? Because it probably does come with some potential added responsibility.
Yeah, it does, man. You know, it's really, you know, my best ability is my dependability at the end of the day. And so for him to honor me with that title, man, just means I'm reliable. You know what I mean? He depends on me. And so that's, I mean, I don't know if there's a greater, you know, compliment to me personally than for somebody of that caliber of a person to be able to rely on me and depend on me. You know what I mean? So that to me is a blessing in itself, man, that someone feels that highly of me to be able to give me that kind of a title.
Thank you again, Frank.
Hey, thanks, Jay.